So really excited to get the webinar started. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box.
Awesome. So just to do a quick overview of what we'll talk about today, and I'm sure many of you have seen this already, these are the core modules that make up the Toolio platform as a whole. So Toolio, of course, is cloud-based, but from there, you can layer on these different modules that are applicable to your team. We find most teams typically starting in that merchandise planning component for that top line merchandise financial planning and open to buy management. And then we'll flow down into those two bottoms up components. So the item planning module, which handles those core item reforecasting, and then the assortment planning where the buyers live and breathe and start to introduce those new product intros. Of course, all of that hard work then comes into the allocation if you have brick and mortar stores on moving those products from your warehouse to your stores in season. And if you have any questions, we're happy to discuss offline the upcoming roadmap on those markdowns that you might have to manage and any materials resource planning for those raw materials. So those are definitely on our roadmap. Today, we'll focus on those first 4 modules. So I don't see any questions coming in. I think that means we're good to get started on the actual demo. Of course, send over any questions in that chat and we'll let Lauren do the interrupting and jump in whenever they pop in. All right. Let's pop over to Toolio here. So as you can see, we're going to start first with that merchandise planning module, and then we'll spend a few minutes on those other modules, saving some time at the end for any questions. Wanted to first start with a general overview. So as you can see, Toolio is cloud-based, so it's accessible right over the browser and looks and feels a lot like Excel. I know many of you are coming from a prior Excel-based tool, so definitely a very easy transition from your current systems into Toolio. I will say though, I know working in Excel prior, for me anyways, putting together all of those formulas was torture. So Toolio comes out of the box built out with all of those 200 plus retail metrics, which you can show, hide, and rearrange, as well as, of course, hundreds of variants on those metrics. So LY, LLY, actuals, builds, you can add in those variants on top of those metrics as well. So a lot of flexibility in bringing in different formulas here very quickly. Of course, if you can find a formula or a metric that we don't have, you can easily create your own custom metric, and you'd be surprised on how many we continue to add in. That same level of flexibility comes into how you're looking at the data as well. So for example, if you wanted to play around with the different time groupings, you can look at week, month, or quarter, or anything more specific if you want to look at different holiday seasons like 2024 holiday, spring holiday. So you can create those different time groupings that are applicable to your business and really drill in from there. Regardless of the view that you're looking at, Toolio is a connected platform, so we'll bring in all of those actuals that you're feeding in from your pre-existing tech stack, so things like product, sales, inventory, PO, and receipt data. As you can see, anything that's actualized, so up to today's date, up here mid-October, will show up in the dark gray column. So that's all of your actual data, which is pulling in on a daily basis, but we aggregate it back at the weekly level, which is the typical workflow for a planning team. And then anything moving forward is then your plan values there. That will show up on every screen, just as well as the copying and pasting, the dragging to copy, and as well as those formulas or the sums and averages down at the bottom. So that's basic functionality that we see across all of the screens that is pretty similar to Excel, but then we start to layer on differentiators from Excel. I think we find that a lot of our customers love how the data is hierarchical. Big word, but really that means that you can easily see and plan at any level of your merchandise or location hierarchies. So we can come in and start to add in different groupings. I know we have a lot of customers that are starting to add in channels now and starting to expand that brick and mortar. So you can easily come in, add in those different channels that you want to look at and see, for example, here now we're looking at store and web moving forward. Easy to quickly manipulate those different channels or those different groupings that you want to look at across your hierarchy. If you're not so much a numbers person and you want to look at that in a more visual way, you can quickly turn on our data visualizations here and click into which metrics matter most to you and start to visualize them across different metrics, also different visualization methodologies there as well. I know back in the day at TJX, we would be putting together these different charts all the time. So quick and easy to do it here in a one-stop shop and then export it out to your deck that you're putting together for upper management. Lauren, any questions coming through on those feature functionalities, or we're good to move on to a preseason workflow?
Good to move on. Oh, actually, something just popped up. Are any B2C businesses importing e-com channels?
Definitely. We see, you want to pull in any of your selling data from all the channels that you work with. So we have a lot of companies pulling in directly from Shopify, Shopify Plus. I would say every company is pulling in their e-commerce channels for sure. Great questions, and definitely keep them coming. But let's dig into a preseason plan here. So looking at how you would create a plan in Toolio, similar to how you might have been doing it offline, you'd want to start pulling in that historical data. We do that by seeding, which means that you're pulling in that historical data. Let's say, for example, my target here is, let's just keep it easy and do the full year of 2024. So I'm going to pull in my actual / plan of 2023, which means everything actualized up until this time point, which we were looking at earlier, and then those planned data points moving forward because they haven't actually occurred yet. We're feeling ambitious. We're going to do a weight of up 20%. So everything's going to be lifted up by 20% across the contribution curve there. So respecting their total contribution to the mix. So let's see, we're still in 2023 here. We're expecting to do about 163. If we pop over to 2024, we'll see that 20% lift, not only at the total, but at that different channel level, again, in that dynamic hierarchy there. We all know that that's not the last starting point. Now we need to, or the final ending point rather, but we need to come in and start making those manipulations. Not everything is going to behave at that 20% lift. So let's come in and say, okay, we have to commit to that 20% lift across the company, but we see ebbs and flows in other divisions as well. Let's say in November, accessories are going to bump up. I've seen this trend of a lot of people proposing on Christmas in the past few years. I don't know how I feel about that, but let's see that people are proposing on the holidays and engagement rings are really up this year. So let's say we're going to do 7 million as opposed to that original 4 in accessories in November. You'll see that that will make that adjustment to accessories and then spread that sales distribution across the rest of the year while maintaining that up 20% at the total. And this is a great place to highlight our scenario capability. So let's just say that now I want to save that as a new scenario. So November accessories promo, I can now save that as the accessories planner into my different scenarios. And then looks like I've already been playing around with this. And then I can come up to my top line manager and say, here's where I am at accessories combined with the footwear planner, whatnot, and merge that into your master at the end of the year or the end of the planning cycle into that master scenario that you commit to. So you can see all those different scenarios here where the team is busy planning out where their different respective departments are going to land, and then you merge them into your master at the end of the season. Great. So that's our preseason planning workflow. Of course, to be able to do all of that analysis, the scenario or in the scenario playing, the reporting comes in top of mind as well. So the reporting in our merchandise planning component can easily be customizable just as all of those other metrics or those other screens we're looking at. Here we're looking at gross sales, margin, unit sales, and inventory position, comparing those actuals to the plans, but you can easily change those up and drill into different levels of the hierarchy here as well. I would have loved this back at TJX. You can easily schedule these reports out to be delivered. So you create them once, they constantly update for you just as the rest of the platform does, and they'll be scheduled out for whenever you want to see them. So maybe on a Sunday night, you're eager to see how sales performed the week prior, you can have this sent out to you and you can get a feel of what the vibes are going to be on Monday morning in the office. Any questions popping up there, Lauren, on reporting or some of the merchandise planning functionality?
Yep. So we have a question in terms of the scenario. So what if I don't want to use last year's seasonality curve?
Definitely. So you can definitely pull in any variety of time frame, any grouping of products. So you don't have to use those exact products that you're looking at there. You can pull in from like for like products. LY, LLY. You can drill into certain parts or certain timeframes and use just a certain respective timeframe there. So tons of flexibility on which backward-looking timeframe you're pulling from as well. Awesome. Oh, I see Privé Revaux glasses are always a good gift. Keep it top of mind, definitely. Now I'm thinking that a gift for myself. I always love a good pair of sunglasses. Can't go wrong there. All right, moving into the item planning. So that was our top line merchandise financial piece where you handle those financial plans and the open to buy. Then you'll come into the item planning and work bottoms up to those plans. So just like back in merchandise planning, I'll hone in on it again. Super customizable here. Item planning is really done at the item level. So this is a breakdown of the individual SKUs here. Let's say in season, you need to come in and start reforecasting your products. We have the forecast functionality here. You can do this using a variety of different settings, like using your historicals or your plan data in respect to the question we had earlier, like the plan year or rolling average. Generally, you would want to use the default replenishment configuration that is provided at the SKU level that you've pre-created on information like order cycle, lead times, MOQs, but do want to show that you can also override those and generate receipts to help you achieve your targets. So you can override them using any of those different seasonality trends. Perhaps we want to bring in the trend from the last 4 weeks instead of the last 8, as it's been exploding and we want to continue that growth, or we expect that growth to continue. So that will adjust up to this time frame. So we'll use that trend from the last 4 weeks and spread it over the next 26. And then we'll have to come in and generate receipts here to flow the inventory into that. So the receipt generation is generating an ideal receipts flow for the business using that existing forecast, the sales forecast, current on-hand inventory and on-order inventory, and then that replenishment information like order cycle, MOQ, safety stock. And then from there, based on, because you did not use your predetermined replenishment configuration, because we overrode them and then brought in the generate receipts, we'll be able to see where Toolio is suggesting to place new POs based on the conditional formatting there. For our NetSuite customers, you can easily export those POs directly here from NetSuite or to NetSuite, or directly into a CSV for anyone else, and then push it directly into your PO management processor. Great. So that's our item level processes there. Of course, similar to the merchandise planning module, we have a ton of great reports here at the SKU level. So this is one of our best sellers to plan. Again, easily customize this. It works kind of like a big pivot table that you would do in Excel, pulling in all of your information automatically from your tech stack, and then updating nightly to show the best sellers to be exported out to your team. Previously, as a planner at TJX, we'd go and find the product in the sample room and hang them up and put a little posted note on the turn and all of that. So you can easily pull that in here, see the images, see the sales information respective to the time frame you selected, and start to quickly dig in and chase into trends in that way. All right, so that's item planning. Lauren, any questions that we can address there as well?
Yep, so I am actually typing out this answer. So does Toolio have an API connector with Shopify, which we absolutely do, and I will send you over some resources on that as well.
Awesome. All righty. And now we'll move on to item or assortment planning rather. I know this is always a big, exciting place for all of our buyers and merchandisers. So this is really a playground for all of those new product intros. Here you can see all of the new assortments that the team is working on over time. So again, depending on your team setup, you'll have different level of granularity here. If it's just men's or it goes all the way down to men's clothing outerwear, you can play around with what those different levels of granularity across your plans are. Let's say I'm the men's clothing outerwear buyer and I'm starting to dig into that 2024 pre-fall assortment. I actually, in addition to men's underwear, handled men's outerwear at TJX as well. And it was a headache getting all of those launch dates and watching the different levels and weights of the jackets as you introduce them in pre-fall. So really great to be able to visualize how those are launching and rolling up over the season here. So now that we're in that assortment, I think it's definitely great to start in our roll up section to see how that assortment is rolling back up to that merchandise planning plan that we sent way back forever ago when we started the demo here. So this roll up will show you where you're sitting to that plan. Fortunately for me, I got a lot of shopping to do. We only have 5,200 units in our assortment currently, and the plan says that we need to have 20,500. So we've got a lot of new products to introduce here. How we're going to do that, we're going to enter our compare mode here and bring in some historical data to help with that hindsighting. So let's see, maybe I want to look at 2023 pre-fall. During COVID, we would look at LY, LLY to help bring in those more applicable timeframes. I've got a ton of analysis here to do to help me select which products I want to bring forward. After I've done that, I start to figure out our best winners, what I want to carry over. We have two options on how to start bringing those products forward from your past assortments, moving them into your current assortment. So for example, this combo cord jacket, I know is a big seller, bought it for all my family last year. If I want to plan on carrying it for this exact style from last year, I can use that carry forward functionality. That will carry forward both the product data and the sales history. So pretty much an exact replica of last year's product. We planned on selling it through and not bringing it back. We didn't know it was going to be such a good performer, so we're bringing it back again this year. Unfortunately, last year, the charcoal wasn't the best seller, but we do want to have another version of that combo cord jacket. So we can bring forward that like for like product that will bring only over the sales history. And then we can start to make updates on that product. So maybe we change the color away from that charcoal, we shorten the sleeve, whatnot. This can start to spur those product update conversations here while still leaving that in our roll up as well. So again, all of those units start to track back here in the reconciliation section. So you can see as you start to add in those units, how is that tracking back to those top line plans? And I know I would have absolutely loved to have this gallery view here. So as you start to put together your different items, you can start to visualize what those are looking like moving forward. So for example, I can start to look at the different time frames. I'd have to come in and select some different attributes that I'd want to see here. So maybe I want to see launch date. That was always so difficult for me to see. How was I going to see items spread throughout the year and the different layerings that would happen there as well. So you can select in the different attributes, start to see the different products over the season and make any updates that you would to the different line sheets here. Any updates that you make there will flow back into this assortment planning view as well. And again, allow you to easily export those new item POs directly into NetSuite, into your CSV, however you're managing that PO update process. All right, so I know that's always a big plus with our buying team, the merchandisers, and then that allocation component is really the last step of the process. So we'll bop over to our allocation plan. So again, just to kind of summarize where we are in the process. We started in merchandise planning. That was the top level targets. We moved to the two bottoms up pieces, assortment planning, which we just left for those new and seasonal products, and then item level planning in the item plan module. But now we need to do that final step. We need to allocate these products to your stores if you have brick and mortar locations. No point in doing all that work if you can't get the product in front of your customer. So I did want to start with the allocation module by thinking backwards. So the allocation plan is the outcome of the strategies that you're going to put in place. We're looking at our allocation plan here now. So this is the output of the strategies that we'll work towards creating in a minute. But as we start thinking about these outputs and the plans that we're going to create, I think that here at Toolio, we think of allocation in a way that might not be very similar to how you think about it now. Traditional allocation is about sending out a bunch of stock and then just backfilling it when it hits that minimum level. Using Toolio on our backend engine here, we think of allocation more as allocating towards demand. So you're estimating that expected demand at the location and SKU level, and then allowing that backend AI to actually pull the ideal quantity of stock into those locations as it's needed instead of pushing them. We do this because it really provides the best opportunity to read the performance of the item before adjusting the demand and then pulling the additional inventory to ensure the optimal distribution. So starting to really react to the demand instead of pushing product onto it. So as we're thinking about that, and as we've set up those strategies, this will be the output of those strategies. So you can see the distribution channels that you're pulling from here and where you're pushing them to, your different stores, whatnot. You can look at off-price stores, wherever you're selling, different channels here, like our stores 1, 2, and 3. And then you can see, of course, your projected inventory position, your forward-looking weeks of supply, but that receipts unit here is the most important. So that shows which inventory units are going to be allocated. So those are the suggested allocations the system is providing based off of those strategies that we'll set. Of course, just like in all the other modules, you can look at different levels of granularity here. So store 2 in week 37 is getting 2,600, but you can start to dig in and see 710 of those are accessories. Even further down, this specific product is really driving our allocations that week. All of that is completely manipulated by the end user on how you want to look at these different allocations. But regardless of how you're looking at them, if you don't make any changes to override these strategies, the tool will execute these strategies. But you can definitely be certain and trust the algorithms here because we are actually setting these strategies proactively months in advance. So I know at Toolio, or at TJX rather, Q4 was insanely busy. We would work on Saturdays to maintain our strategies to get the products out flowing through the stores. With our allocation module here, you can actually set those strategies up proactively to months in advance. So no more crunch time there in the holidays. And as you're setting up those strategies, you need to really start thinking about how you get the product in the right place at the right time, in the right amount, and the right quantity. So Lauren, before I dive in, I see we have a question there. Do we want to address that?
So Gigi, after the allocation discussion, could you clarify the difference between item plan and assortment plan? Is assortment plan by SKU, preseason, and item plan the in-season forecasting method?
Yes, let me give that a read. I'm not seeing that question on my end. Oh, but okay, after the allocation. Yeah, we'll come back after allocation, see if that starts to clarify itself there. But let's finalize allocation and start to think about, again, right product, right place, right time, and right amount. So right product here comes in with that title and color section. So this is done at the style color level. Of course, as we've talked about, strategies can be done at any level of granularity. So division, department, or class, but wanted to highlight that you can get down to the individual style color level here. That right place piece comes in with the location list. So this is saying what level or where is this product eligible to go? For example, all stores, only top doors. You can play around with those different location lists that are applicable to your store clusters. That right time component starts to come in with those start and end dates. So the allocations will ensure that the products are only selling within that window. So you can start to say, when do you want this on the floor? When do you want it to sell through? When will it be removed from the floor? But I know that that right amount piece is always the hardest. So that's where these demand types come in, ensuring which amount of the product do you need in the stores to hit those plans. So looking at the demand type, we see most people who have the item planning module using that item plan demand. So that's pulling in demand you forecasted back in the item planning module, which is great for those continuously reforecasted core items that, as you remember, we went back, we reforecast, we generated receipts. We've already done all the hard work to predict the demand there. But we also have two other demand types here to be used as well. So the rate of sale or the total sales. You would probably want to use that rate of sale for products that you might not hold longer than a season. And then those total sales is for a new product where you're definitely going to sell longer or sell through completely at the end of the season. So let's look, for example, of that rate of sale number there. Let's say we're planning on selling an average of 30 per week at this store level. But of course, that might look different by week or at the store level. And that's where these different curves start to come into play. So those sales, location, and size curves are dynamic or static that you've pre-set up back when starting to onboard the system, which means that you can set them up once and they'll start to adjust on a rolling basis. And of course, we're continuing to invest in that technology there to make those curves more and more sophisticated. But digging into each one of those individual curves, that sales curve is that seasonality curve for when your sales start to peak and valley, which of course differs by store. That location curve shows the location penetration on a style. So that layers on top of that sales curve and starts to think about how do these stores penetrate over time. You know, not every store is going to be really selling that 30 at an average week. That size curve starts to think about how at the size level does this penetration break out. Then you have those different order cycles and safety stocks talking about how often you're going to allocate this product and how many weeks of supply do you have to meet those presentation profiles and controlling those mins and maxes. So thinking about the process here, you're going to set these strategies up however far in advance that you have access to the product and want to start putting in the strategies, which will then be determined on those start and end dates. So you can do this as far in advance as you have time for. And then the outcome of all of these strategies is that allocation plan that we talked about prior. So same view that we were looking at before, you can look at that individual style color level and look at how it's being allocated across. As we discussed, this will automatically run unless you make any overrides to that strategy. So if you see something changing in season, you can quickly come and override that strategy at any particular time. But once those are fully set up, it will start to put together those recommended transfer orders that you can easily come in and export out and start to action on those with your warehouse. So this is the view of all those recommended transfer orders based off of those different rules that you set for the different allocations there. But love how set it and forget it our allocation module is. It would have been a lifesaver over at TJX. So again, just to quickly summarize, we ran through that top line merchandise financial planning. We moved into those two bottoms up pieces, the assortment plan and the item plan. And then for those with brick and mortar locations, you'd use the allocation module to get those from the warehouse to the stores. All right. Whew. That is a long process, but definitely much expedited from what you're handling in Excel. I'm curious, Lauren, any questions that we can dive into here as well? I know we're right on time.
Yep. So for the last question, I did type an answer up, but if you wanted to answer it live as well, could you clarify the difference between item plan and assortment plan? Is assortment plan by SKU preseason and item plan the in-season forecasting method? So if you want to answer live, I did also provide an answer via chat as well as some help center resources.
Yeah, Lauren, I can't see the questions on my end. So if you don't mind reading out your answer, maybe we'll see if anyone else has some thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So item plan is where you handle your core or your year-round products. The item planning module is going to allow you to build preseason plan as well as track in-season performance at the item level. Assortment plan is where you're going to handle your seasonal products or your newness. The assortment planning module is really designed to streamline your line planning building process as well.
Awesome. Yep, definitely. So I think Lauren hit it nail on the head. Item planning is more for those core season products, definitely more in-season reforecasting there. Assortment planning is that preseason playground for those new product introductions. Find mostly teams that are more fashion driven. They have new product intros or living in the assortment planning versus item planning is that core product that lives season over season. Awesome. Any other questions here that we can address? I know it's a lot to go through. Or any other products that we should be looking at. I know we have that Privé Revaux. I know we have some Magnolia team members on. I'm definitely looking to jazz up my apartment here. Definitely, though, a great way to look at overall, how is your team across tops down and bottoms up working to connect their different workflows? I know some of the prior problems that we see working in Excel is that they're not working under that same underlying data. So just to reiterate, across all of our modules, the teams are working back with all of the data that's flowing in from whatever your current tech stack is working with. We have, I think 80% of our customers right now are pulling directly in from NetSuite, which we have a direct API. We work with your safe searches there. So definitely a great solution for our NetSuite customers, but of course, any other ERP, data warehouse, BI tool, PLM, we can work with those different integrations there to pull in your pre-existing data. which is a total headache in Excel. All righty. Lauren, anything else you want to chime in here? I know we've been very busy talking to a lot of brands who are expanding channels and complexities in their businesses. Any other trends you're hearing across the environment?
No, I think you really hit the nail on the head with this. Yeah, and there's no other open questions. So if anybody wants to have like an open discussion about anything, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A box. And we're happy to stay on. If not, then you can also follow up privately with either of us as well.
Yeah, definitely. We'll send out this recording to anyone and as well as all of our contact information. But for our pre-existing customers, definitely reach out to your CSMs with any questions on training or additional functionality you saw here today. Ooh, looks like we have a special guest popping in. For those of you who don't know, Eitan is our CEO and founder here. Looks like he might have some fun updates to share. Nothing fun from you, Eitan?
No, just wanted to join in.
Space.
Happy to answer anything, any questions if there are any.
We'll give it a few minutes, but all of the open questions look like they have been answered already. So we'll give it just a few more minutes since Eitan just joined. And if not, like Gigi said, we will send over the recording after.
Definitely. Lots of great questions. So great to have you all jump on, and we're around if you need us. You know, Eitan, maybe while we have you, someone did ask earlier, what if they don't want to use the LY seasonality curve? Can you talk about some of the different scenarios that you see people using that instead of LY, what are different seasonality curves they might use?
Yeah, of course. First, like in our forecasting approach, you can always forecast by using the merchandise planning seasonality. So if you have built out plans in your merchandise plans that reflect the seasonality that you might want to apply, you can always use that build. And you can always do like for like while forecasting as well. That allows you to specify, bring in the seasonality from like for like products history, or you can use the a combination of like for like products plans to project your seasonality. And lastly, in this quarter, we're releasing a curve builder, which you will still be able to like prime from LY, or you'll be able to prime from a merchandise plan, but you'll also have the ability to manipulate the curve and then overlay promotional discounts if you have any like lifts associated with promotions as well. So you'll have a lot more granular control over the seasonalities that are applied.
Right. Lots of fun, exciting updates coming in Q4 for sure. Right. Awesome. I don't know if we had any other questions that Lauren and I haven't already addressed. So of course, definitely. Oh,
we did just get a comment. Curve builder is cool. So yeah, we're really excited about it as well.
Yes, we'll have a lot of more detailed help articles and whatnot supporting those new product intros as they come. So stay tuned for that. Great to hear the feedback though. Awesome. So we'll send out this recording to anyone who needs it, but definitely send over any questions as they come. We'll stay on for a few more minutes.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for joining. Okay, perfect. So if there's no other questions, again, we appreciate your time. We're really looking forward to sending over the recording and receiving any other questions offline as well. Other than that, Gigi, if you don't have anything else to add, yeah, we look forward to hearing from everybody.
All right. Nice seeing all your names.
I get. There's one more question that is coming up, but yeah, so there's a question around like where if you want to roll up all of the items and assortment plans, where do you do that? The answer is that you can blend. You can always like push from assortment plan into item plan, so that all of your products are, your seasonal and core products are all together in the item plan, which you can then do the reconciliation. So I'm not sure like if Gigi, you've covered the reconciliation workflow. So you can just highlight, if you go into the view selector, and then you can select reconcile. Just type in reconcile there, and then MPIP reconciliation. So this is where you can see a roll up of all of your products and a comparison of that into the merchandise plan. So what we're looking at is women's clothing knits, and we're looking into how the items are rolling up. And then the first row at the top is MP Act plan, which is the top-down plan coming from your merchandise plan. So ultimately, what we can do is to get all the products from assortment plan, spread it over time with the seasonality, and roll it all up into your together with your core into your merchandise plan.
Awesome. Looks like our anonymous attendee is happy with that answer. So definitely you can have all of your core and seasonal products in there in one view. Great questions. And any more that come our way, we're happy to answer them over email. So we'll send this all out, and feel free to reply right to that email with any additional questions. Awesome. All right. Lauren and I are off to go do that holiday shopping.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.